Greetings. Welcome back to Ministry Monday. This is Carlton Coon. Thank you for giving me these few minutes each week. I've been talking about the importance of leading people who are very much part of a physical world into being more spiritual. Let me give a cautionary note here. The greatest pastors, shepherds that I have known were spiritual people. The very best pastors / shepherds I've ever known were real people. So when I talk about spiritual, I'm not talking about some spooky spiritual that makes someone weird. Intelligent people and healthy people tend to not be willing to follow the weird. It's not effective to be so out there in some other worldly realm that you appear to be far more spiritual than you are in touch with the flock. I don't see that portrayed in the 23rd Psalm shepherd, not at all. I think of one of the most ineffective approaches to pastoring I've ever seen is a fellow who positioned himself among the church that he became pastor of as being a very spiritual fellow. And who am I to assess whether that's the case or not? But he lived out there somewhere. Maybe you know what I'm talking. He'd walk around muttering deep words that nobody understood, and people that he was trying to lead toward heaven, when they would see him, there was almost a look in his eye that said, "Don't approach me. Let's not talk about where the fish are biting, or how much firewood you had to burn last winter, or how that the muffler's fallen off your car. I'm spiritual. I'm out there." Well, I don't know. He may have thought that expressing all of that was deep and that it somehow would buy him influence with the people, but that wasn't the case. If his ambition was to be, quote, different from those he was leading, he accomplished that. It was a mess, and it became more of a mess as time went by. It was almost as though he lived in a place where the grass didn't need cutting, and somebody came and paid his utility bill for him, and life was just perfect. There were lots of prophetic words. There was lots of tongues and interpretation of tongues, all of which we need. But he could never come down to teach a lesson on family finances. He could never teach a lesson on how to be more effective as a parent, because it was out there somewhere. It wasn't living right where they were. It might deal with how awesome Melchizedek was and who he was, and it might even get into the prophetic, but it didn't touch where people were at right now. He was so spiritual that he was no common and effective good for the people of that city or that congregation. Well, there are people who say, well, our church isn't spiritual, and we blame others because it's not that. But the truth of the matter is that we are to be spiritual leaders, and we are to provide care for an unspiritual group of people who are struggling with the realities of life. We have to get where they are. What does the real look like? In the set of audio lessons that came from J.T. Pugh about just a conversation with J.T. Pugh, that's the name of it. If you haven't listened to that series, you need to get that. Because this incredible influencer of several generations would talk about how that as a pastor, it was important for him when he would see a child who was 5 or 7 or 9, that he would get to their level to talk with them, to have a conversation with them, to express an interest in what was going on in their life. And J.T. Pugh would talk about kneeling and getting down on one knee to have a conversation with a child. Some of you listening to me need to get off that platform. You need to get off your high horse, and you need to get down on the level of the people who you're dealing with, from the youngest child to the oldest person in that congregation. Move off that pedestal that you have put yourself on, or that somebody else put you on. You're living with people who are struggling. They need to know that you care about them in their struggle and that you will guide them toward a healthy spirituality, even in the midst of the struggle. And you can do that. All of us can. It takes effort. Hope you have a great week. Lead your people toward a spiritual outcome. We can do this thing together. God bless.